Hello, my name is Cordero Gomez, and this is our video interview. As you can see, I have a lot of paraphernalia of RPGs, D&D heavy, but also a couple of other things like the Harry Potter miniature game and the Labyrinth RPG, which is lots of fun. I think I also have, let's see here, something from A24 called The Green Knight, so that hasn't come out yet. But anyway, we can always talk about that later. So moving on to the questions. Forgive me, I went a little old school and wrote down my answers to kind of help. So let's see here. How long have I been playing tabletop RPGs or D&D specifically? Well, I would say I've been playing for a little more than 5 years. A group of friends decided, hey, you know, it'd be really fun. Let's play some D&D. And it was starting to blow up. Critical Role was starting to become a household name. And I was voluntold rather, that I was going to be the DM. So that's what I did. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I borrowed the DMG because I didn't have it just yet. I had 0 of the books. And I was really delighted to find it's more or less just imagination with a few rules thrown in. So sky's the limit on what can happen, really. So that's what I really liked about it. So I've been DMing for about 5 years, playing as a player about 4 years. I did a year in the Lost Mines of Phandelver, so even though it's like that big, you know, we kind of went off on some tangents there and had other adventures and kind of flew by the seat of our pants, and it was a good time. It was a good year. Okay, let's see here. Working with children. Well, I am a father of 3. I have 2 older daughters, 10, 8, and then a newborn son. He is, he's about 8 months now. So I'm looking forward to playing with him, but I've already played with my daughters, and my oldest has kind of taken the reins and been a DM herself. Besides that, I also taught in college, tutoring. America Reads, America Counts, so underprivileged youth. I kind of helped develop their reading skills as well as their math skills. I was an English major, so the math skills thing was a little, but you know, it has improved. I was also a den leader. My girls were in the Boy Scouts. I guess they changed it to Scouts of America, so they were letting girls in, and we were really excited about that. Haven't been back in a little over 6-7 months. You know, pandemic hit pretty hard here, and we haven't been doing anything in person with the Scouts. So, but I remember on some camping retreats, we would play some D&D. You know, tell some fireside stories and scary stuff, and it was kind of fun just to kind of play with all ages, ranging from 5 years old all the way up to late teens. You know, we had some Weeblos and Boy Scouts themselves. What else? Yeah, that's about it. So, you know, I love kids. I think kids are great. I was pretty close to becoming a teacher, but then life got in the way, and now I'm a public servant. Okay. Oh, improv. Yeah. So I'm pretty good at the improv, you could say. In high school, I was in the theater troupe, and I actually lettered in theater. I was that big of a nerd, so I have a big R for Rancho. That was the name of my high school. And we went to a improv festival, and I believe we placed second. It was in junior year, so it's pretty good. And I don't mean to brag, but I did improv some Shakespeare. I played Lysander in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and there was one part I just never could remember, so I'd always just kind of spit a rhyme that had a little cadence to it. It sounded Shakespearean, and it wasn't, and the theater teacher was wise to it and kind of spoke to me about it, but I just didn't get it down by the 3rd night, unfortunately. Let's see here. Oh, so I find that very helpful at the D&D table and in life in general. If you, you know, can think on your feet and be flexible, improv kind of comes naturally. So, yeah, I've always been kind of quick-witted, we'll say, sarcastic, my mother would say. All right, let's see here. Yeah, 4 years of theater. Like I said, I lettered in it. Okay, I was more on the acting side in theater, so I like to do silly voices and impressions and stuff. I don't think all of them will make it into the game. I do an okay Arnold Schwarzenegger. I won't do it here. My dad likes my Sean Connery, and seeing as Sean Connery has passed away and kind of fallen by the wayside, there's not really a whole lot for that, so maybe the kids will appreciate a very tough brogue of Sean Connery showing up as an NPC. I got into prop making as well. So I really like to make my own dungeon tiles and other things. In fact, off screen here, excuse me. I follow a lot of people on YouTube, and one of them is Black Magic Craft, and they did this Wizard's Tower. So here's one that I'm working on, so it's pretty cool. Got 3 of these already made, and I got another 3 tier there, so it'll be really interesting to have the minifigures on that for like a Wizard's Tower duel or something. Let's see here. Oh, favorite part of running D&D. I love the twists and turns that the PCs take you on, especially children. Children, I think, are a little more comfortable once they have got into the game a little bit, and they'll take you weird places you didn't think you could go and you never really thought about. So I really like those curveballs. Some of my older players, like I have a D&D group at work and some close friends and a few other clients as well. They'll throw you some curveballs, but nobody throws you a curveball like a kid. So it's really funny just to see where their imagination will go. So that's probably my favorite thing, are the surprises. Least favorite thing about D&D is scheduling. It seems like everybody's busy all the time. It's really hard to get everybody together. You have my bow and my sword, and then Gimli says, the 13th isn't good for me, or whatever that meme is. So, favorite thing, twists and turds. Less favorite thing would be the scheduling. But that's where you come in. You'll be sending the work my way, which would be really nice, hopefully, anyway. A memorable PC. So I have come up with a bunch of different NPCs, and it's kind of funny to see how they show up. My favorite is probably a character of mixed goblin and possibly human and who knows what else descent. So he's a kind of an uglier dude, and he goes by the name Two Shoes Malone because by his own account he has 2 shoes. So I really like Two Shoes Malone. He always shows up. He's good for an expo or a expedition dump. So he always knows something about everything. Give you one useful thing, but about 10 other things that have nothing to do with anything. So it's up to the players to kind of root out what's what with him. So I do like Two Shoes Malone. A memorable encounter was our rogue messing with him. He's a rogue too, head of the, or not head, but kind of a cohort of the, or minion of the Thieves Guild. He was accosted by this player outside of a bar and held up, against the door. And they're like, well, what do you know? You're like, hey, I don't know anything. You tell me what I know. She's like, hey, how you want to beat No Shoes Malone? And he's like, you're going to take my feet? I need those to get around. And it was just, we all had a ball with Two Shoes Malone. So, yeah, he's kind of a confidential informant too, if we have any lawful good paladins. So, he kind of fits with the lawful and the lawless, we'll say. So differentiating between 2 or more NPCs, I like to utilize the side turn. So if one of them's talking, it'll be like, hey, I've been looking for this guy all over the place. I can't find him. And then, you turn the other way and you say like, well, I haven't been able to find him either. But, you kind of do that. I like to do different voices. Like I said, I like to do impressions. I do have a few set NPCs that kind of show up. So it's kind of fun if you have a few groups going and they're like, yeah, we ran into, Salty Pete. And they're like, Salty Pete? Like, yeah, Salty Pete, that guy. So it's kind of fun to do that. I like to also give them particular gestures. So Two Shoes Malone's kind of talking with his shoulders, kind of doing that. And there's let's see here, Broccoli, which is his name is Brock, his middle name is Lee. We haven't decided on his last name. He's a bugbear, and he's also a very gentle soul. So he's a adopted nephew of one of our Dragonborn guys. So he's always like, oh, Uncle Andros. He's like this huge kid, probably like, how do bugbears age? Maybe 16 or something, equivalent of just this big goofy kid that just wants to help. So yeah, I come up with different voices, different gestures, and sometimes it's good, like if they hear like, hey, yo, what's going on over here? And they're like, oh God, it's Two Shoes Malone again. So it's kind of fun to do that. Let's see. Fudging dice rolls. So I like playing the dice where they lay most of the time. I think fudging dice is fine. I always fudge dice in favor of the PCs, never in my favor. So if I really want the big baddie to do something cool and dramatic and he rolls a 1, let them fall where they may. However, if the big baddie is going after, a level 2 paladin, who has their shining sword and shining armor and comes running up on level 10 necromancer and he just kind of lightning bolts them and crits, I think that's unfair to the player. I kind of have a soft house rule that your first death is going to be a near-death experience. So fudging die rolls always in the favor of the PCs, never in my favor. In fact, if you have time for a quick story, had a warlock named Andros, so that was the same Dragonborn that adopted Broccoli, the bugbear with heart of gold. Been messing with this paladin, had somehow shift his alignment through magical means, and then the paladin became aware of it. I statted up this paladin. He had +2 anti-magic mace and armor and all this stuff, and he was decked out. And I made sure on this terrain it was going to be very dangerous. It was a rope bridge from the land to a small little mountain, and I made a point. There is no water down there, only sharp rocks, because I was like, it's going to be really bad if you fall. So he comes up. He's about halfway between, the mountain and the side. And, he has this great speech and everything's great. And my warlock says, how wide is the rope bridge across? And I said, well, it's 50 feet across. And he's like, no, but how wide? And I'm like, about 5 feet. And he just said, okay. Cloud of daggers. And I was like, oh no. So my paladin rolls and it's a 1. So this guy spent probably 20-30 minutes statting up before our session just specifically for this encounter. Big baddie just fell, and I mean fell to his death like it was hundreds of feet. So it was a little anticlimactic, but we still talk about it every now and again, and there's always raised dead later. Maybe he'll come back. So so fudge dice for the players, especially if you're playing with kids. You don't want to kill the children. Let me see here. When it comes to railroading, I think there is a time and a place for railroading, but I prefer sandbox adventures, or West Marches, as some people call them, where you just, hey, what would you like to do? And you incorporate the backstories of the PCs. I think it's easier to do that, in a sandbox rather than a railroad, but sometimes, players are off on their own. They're supposed to be fighting some mummy, let's say, who's gathering other mummies to his cause, and day by day he's just dehydrating people and building up an army, and they're out there hunting boars or something, and they come back and he's got an army. So I like that there's consequences. So even though they're kind of doing this, once they get back, the world is moving on without them, so there are consequences for ignoring the main quest. However, if it gets pretty crazy, what I would do is maybe have a divine intervention, a patron saint, or, the clerics, oh, I had a vision, we need to go here. Or if it's going to be really crazy, some chaotic wizard shows up and he's got 3 doors and you have to pick one. It doesn't matter which one they pick, they're going to teleport where they need to be. It's just the illusion of choice, and sometimes you have to do that just to get them course corrected. But I think there's many different tools in your toolbox to do that. So railroading, I don't know, it's kind of a negative term, but I think if you have an A, B, and C, or if it's a one shot, you really have to just keep it going. So you have to narrow the choices or just be quicker about their responses. So, where would you want to go? Here, here, and they have to pick one. And if you go here, 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 and here, it's gonna be a little too much. I think that's a longer campaign thing, but one shots and stuff, you gotta stick to the railroad. All right. Rule of cool. Okay, I like the rule of cool. I like that you can cut the rope, swing from the chandelier. Chandelier falls on a guy, you kick the throat of somebody and they fall over the bar, where the spittoon falls on their face and everybody laughs. And if somebody says that they want to do that and they haven't really tried to do too many things, I'll let them do it without a roll. That is the rule of cool. So yeah, of course. It becomes problematic if a player takes advantage of it. So I like to institute the rule of cool as the player can maybe do it once a session or once every 2 sessions, but if a player keeps doing it and they're the only one taking advantage, I'll just say, okay, now you have to start rolling for it, and maybe encourage the other players to do it as well. So I do like incorporating the rule of cool, but I don't let it break the game, you know. And sometimes it's really fun to attempt something that would be really cool and you roll a 1, you know. Fun things happen on 1s. Alrighty. When it comes to role-playing versus combat, I do enjoy combat, but I'm more of a role-player guy. I like in-town shopping. I like them like visiting with the PCs and building relationships and stuff, because then when somebody gets kidnapped or hurt or something, they really feel it and they really want to get after that bad guy. I do enjoy combat though. Combat is fun. So let's say players are spending a little too much time in haggling over prices at the swap meet. Oh, orcs descend, you know, like you kind of got to bust it up. But I really do like maybe like Curse of Strahd, where it's like story based and stuff like that. I really like that. So I'm a role player at heart, but you know, nothing beats a good combat. All right, let's see here. Oh, and you know, you can let the role play bleed into the combat as well. I like expanding combat just a little bit. So, you know, it is 6 seconds, but maybe you get a good line in. So say one of the PCs rolls a crit. Like, what do you say as you dispatch this goblin? So it allows them to kind of bring their character forward to be like, you know, what if they like shoot him with an icy blast and they're like Arnold from Batman, like chill out, you know, just shoots them. Pretty fun. Let's see here. Oh, rules. Okay, so like I know kids kind of like to push the envelope and stuff and ignore rules, so I like to reiterate the rules. You know, I jump over this 15-foot divide and I make it easily. I'm like, oh, well, you know, you could probably make it 5 feet. So in the moment, you have to correct them. How would you make it across otherwise? So I'm not afraid to be like, they try it, but they can't do that because it's the rules. So we kind of rewind it and we say, you know, what would you like to try? You know, would you want to try running along the wall? Would you like to Indiana Jones it and, you know, use a whip or something? You know, kind of give them some options if they don't come up with them themselves. And they do like to talk over another, and they like to do silly jokes. I know that. So I like to reward players that stick to the rules and kind of stick to the role play and playing character by awarding inspiration die. And I believe a player's behavior, you know, the player, not the character. So the player's the player's behavior should be rewarded in the game. So if they do something like good, or they help out, like, you know, their friend, or bring their friend out of their shell and let them shine for a little bit, grant them inspiration. Or maybe they're like, oh, you know, I'm looking for a particular thing. You know, they're at the armory or something. Well, you know, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for a silver-plated dagger. And I'll be like, well, you're just under a few piles of stuff, you find this silver-bladed dagger. So you kind of reward it. However, I don't think that game mechanics should be used to punish players. You know, we're all there to have a good time. So let's say they're talking over each other, or maybe being a ham or something like that. I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, rocks fall and you are now at half HP or something like that. I believe in rewarding good behavior in game, but I don't believe in punishing behavior in game. It doesn't mix that way to me personally. Yeah, and always, you know, reward kindness with friends and stuff like that. Or you know, like, you know, there's always the shy person at the table, and try and have a spotlight. You know, everybody has a chance to shine. I try and do that. So alrighty. Gentle reminder of the mechanics and stuff, so kind of mention that. And let's see here. When they're diverging from the plot, like I said, I think that's when the fun stuff happens, is when you diverge from the plot and they kind of, you know, explore the world on their own. However, if they need a little bit of coaxing, maybe a friendly NPC, sidekick, or Two Shoes Malone shows up and brings them back to where they need to be. Like I said, divine intervention, you know, or, you know, the wizard shows up. There's many different ways to get them back on track. Or maybe the plot just comes crashing in, you know, flying chariot style, and, you know, then they're off on their original quest, like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. We better go back. You know, the mummy is making more mummies. So can't have too many mummies. Alrighty. And I would like to probably close with thanking you for watching this now almost 20-minute video. Thank you for your patience. I hope to talk to you in person. And, when you roll a 1, I think that's awesome. Failure is always an option. All right. Talk to you later. Goodbye.